le order 40.2 40.2 yaanong Honourable Minister botsa ka gore o itumetse mme gape le one ke bona gape e sa tsamaelane le order 38.1.
Ke a leboga Mr. Speaker ke tsaya gore yaanong o botsa opinion ke tabe go sa nna sente gore ke
It's 38.1.
opinion ya me mo parlamenteng.
But you are free.
Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
Hang on. You are free to submit a question related to that. Procedural.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ke a leboga, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, o ta correct. Ke akanya gore kana ha gongwe ha mo parliament a botsa potso a botsa gore mme wena wa reng. Tumelo ya me ke gore wa ba boletsa mo goreng a mme ha project yone ka ha ne entse ka teng a mme gone does it meet se leng gore it was intended for ha botsa ka maikutlo a gago gore a mme wena wa reng a wa kgotswa gore does it satisfy se leng gore it was intended for. Ke a leboga, Mr. Speaker.
I agree with you, Honourable Kaiser. Certainly it can be a strict application, especially when the answer sought seeks to establish the ins and outs of the process and the intended objective, whether they are met or not. So, kana Setswana sa tsietsa, ha gongwe, it may appear that you are seeking an opinion, but the opinion you are actually seeking is a professional one. And so I believe that the latter would fit within the four corners of our rules of order and procedure. So I certainly agree with you, Honourable Member. Doesn't this, I don't think it means that you have not been adequately answered. You have. Okay. Honourable Tsenolo Bohatsu, member for Lentswele Taole Pepe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister for State President, Defence and Security. Honourable Assistant Minister.
Ke a leboga motsamaisa dipuisano tsa Parlamente ke go dumedise batlotlegi ke a le dumedisa le Batswana ko gae. Mr. Speaker, the National Order of Precedence is an established state protocol tool used to determine the order in which holders of public office and other dignitaries are accorded ceremonial recognition and precedence at official and ceremonial functions. The National Order of Precedence is not intended in any way, Mr. Speaker, to constitute a hierarchy of social worth or importance, nor does a particular position in the order diminish the dignity, status, or significance of the institution or the office that is concerned. Mr. Speaker, the National Order of Precedence is principally structured in accordance with Botswana's constitutional and institutional framework, taking into account the nature of an office, its constitutional or statutory mandate, and the responsibilities and authority that are attached to it. The National Order of Precedence recognizes the different constitutional, governmental, institutional, and traditional offices that participate in the affairs of the state. It necessarily brings with the highest constitutional and governmental offices, I beg your pardon, it necessarily begins, Mr. Speaker. It necessarily begins with the highest constitutional and governmental offices, including the President, the Vice President, and ministers, followed by other senior government officials and functionaries of the state, including those within the legislature, the judiciary, and other public institutions. Mr. Speaker, the institution of Dikgosi occupies a very unique and important place in Botswana's governance and national identity. Dikgosi play a significant role in preserving Botswana's culture and traditions, promoting social cohesion, providing community leadership, and contributing to the stability and unity of this country. Within the overall structure of the National Order of Precedence, members of Ntluyadi Khosi, when considered as a group, are accorded a significant position, being placed ahead of a number of senior public officers, including the Permanent Secretary to the President, the Attorney General, judges of the High Court, heads of international organizations, the Governor of the Bank of Botswana, and mayors and council chairpersons. Mr. Speaker, it is important to distinguish protocol precedence from the recognition, status, and importance accorded to an office or institution. The position assigned in the order of precedence does not in itself determine or diminish the constitutional, institutional, or traditional importance to the nation. Accordingly, the placement of Dikhosi should not be interpreted as indicating low recognition or diminished status. Rather, it should be understood within the context of the order as a whole, which accommodates the various constitutional, governmental, legislative, judicial, institutional, and traditional offices of the state, and provides an orderly basis for the relative precedence at official occasions. Mr. Speaker, government remains mindful of the need for the order of precedence to remain responsive to Botswana's constitution institutional and cultural circumstances. Any proposal to amend the order would therefore need to be considered holistically into account the structure of the state, the respective constitutional, statutory, and traditional roles of the institution, and offices that are concerned. Government will therefore continue to keep the order of precedence under review and will consider any amendments where these are justified in the interest of maintaining a coherent and appropriate protocol framework for the Republic of Botswana. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Parliamentary.
Supplementary, Honorable Gatsu.
Ke a go leboga tona ka karabo ya gago. Mme kana yone kgang e ke itlisang hae e tswa go go bone dikgosi ka bo bone. Ke utlwa re does not in any way intended to diminish the status of chiefs. Mme bone ba ikutlwa ba nyaditswe ka go beiwa at order 14 wa go dira eng jaanong gore ba bontsha re nyaka boammaaruri maikelelo ga se ka gore ka tsela e pehela ba ikutlwe ba nyaditswe ka go ba beilwe at order 14 ka re bone ba dumela ke ba le go gongwe ga godimonyana gale.
Honorable Minister.
Ke a leboga motsamaisa dipuisano tsa Palamente. Mme ke a gutla motlotlegi. Ke a gutla tota, but the answer remains that for the moment motlotlegi gore the way the order of precedence is not in any way meant to diminish ope me hela ke jaaka e leng gore as we currently speak precedence ntse yalo, but how ka lemoga ke buile mo karabong ya me gore government will therefore continue to keep the order of precedence, yes, under review, and we will consider any appropriate amendments that are justified only in the interest of maintaining a coherent and appropriate protocol framework. Ke a leboga motlotlegi.
Honorable Prince Mogorosi Mosanana.
Ke a go leboga, Mr. Speaker. Potso ke a borataro. Number 6.
Honorable Minister of Child Welfare and Basic Education. Honorable Assistant Minister.
Ke a go leboga, Mr. Speaker. Ke go leboge ka potso ye maleba mo Parliament wa Kanye East, Honorable Mosanana. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Child Welfare and Basic Education, in accordance with General Order 259, considers applications from teachers who want to undertake private studies. Such support may be provided through financial assistance, the granting of 10 working days of examination leave, or a combination of both, depending on eligibility and available funds. Mr. Speaker, for part one of the question, the number of teachers who have been affected, a total of 230 teachers were granted approval to engage in private studies for reimbursement from 2017 to date. On the other part, Mr. Speaker, the total amount outstanding, Mr. Speaker, is that out of 213, 192 teachers have been paid, while 21 teachers remain unpaid. Out of the 21 teachers, 17 of them continue to be paid in stages as and when they complete portions of their studies, while only 4 teachers will be paid by 30th August 2026. Mr. Speaker, the total outstanding amount for the penny reimbursement is estimated at 490,337 pula. On part 3 of the question, Mr. Speaker, when the refunds will be made, Mr. Speaker, payment will be effected once the concerned teachers submit the requisite documentation to enable processing. The Ministry continues to engage the affected teachers to ensure compliance with the requirements. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, part 4 of the question on the steps that are being taken to upgrade these teachers. Mr. Speaker, the upgrading or progression of teachers is done in line with the normal recruitment and selection process of the public service. This is guided by the availability of vacancies and all eligible officers competing for such opportunities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Supplementary ona Musanana.
Ke a go leboga
Tima Minister ho nyepa.
ke a go leboga minister ka dikarabo tseo tseo di ntshitseng. Me ka ha ke utlwang o bua ka teng ke gore gona go supala gore maiteko a teng. Me ke re kana bone ma teacher ba bana minister ba ba saletseng ko morago ba ise ba duelwe. Kana batho ba ba modimo ba sokola me ya no bone ba kana lo le goromente yo re neng re mo tsenya mo pusong maloba lo neetse masole 5 billion gore ba duelwe rona ma teacher a ka gore ga re ka dira lo ntsha mo pusong ga rena ditlhobolo a rona ya no lo re ba pisa hela lo re lo tla re bona kana go iketlile mme bile sello segolo gape le gore ke eng go sa nne gore ka gore di go a diega ke eng go sa twe bogolo madia a nna accrue interest while santse go processiwa gore ba tle ba duelwe ka gore gone ba bua ba mmaruri ka gore batho ba ba modimo ba dituelo tse dingwe tsa bone ke tsa bogologolo tota mo e leng gore ga ba itse gore tota ba bangwe ba se ba tletse ke boitlhobogo gore tota ba tla tlhola ba duelwa kana ba itlhoboga ke a go leboga minister.
Ona Musanana wele thoko order 38.1D. O ibale thata ta go thusa no minister.
Ke a leboga Mr. Speaker. Ke tsala re utlwile honorable Musanana gore potso ya go e thoka gore o e lebelle thata. Mme ke re Mr. Speaker ke tsala re kana a bua ka masole honorable Musanana o bua ka dilo tse di haloganeng ka gore hana ke tsala bana ba sa duele madi a private further studies mme ke a tlhaloganya gore gone kana kgang ya go letsholo la go ke gore ba bangwe bone ba duelwa which is true and madi ya rona ba sa itse ko morago ke re ke sengwe se e leng gore ke tlhalosa gore tota we'll try to speed up. Make it man teachers have been disadvantaged for many years now. Yagariwana honorable Musana, put away Utagere Levan, Luna Talca, Chosa Dinawela Tata, my danza horror. Matiara Koluta, my dear, I had over 40 million. I learned they should have been paid by now, the leave concession, the travel concession, the leave days. Jalo, I had 40 million. Listen, your Lago honorable Musana, Mikere, Retalka Hovakanya, Lenagli Murtaban, Hayateng, Hain citizen Tatot. Kalaboha, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dr. Gisterilo Robuchang, member for Chapon South.
Question 7, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister of Trade and Entrepreneurship. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Magileboge ngaka go botswang ka potso. Me ke mo arabe. Ka tsela e ntseng yana. There are 80 leather industry standards that BOPS has developed. This covers blue and processed hides and skins from bovine animal, sheep, goats, and buffalo, as well as leather products such as belts and bags, as per the list attached. Regarding wood sawdust, BOPS is in the process of developing a standard specification for the product following a request from a timber manufacturing and processing company to develop a standard for poultry bedding, which is primarily composed of wood sawdust. The company indicated that it intends to supply customers who require the product to be certified against the recognized standards. The development of this standard will follow the fast-track method and will take approximately 3 months. Where there are no Botswana standards, BOPS source appropriate standards on behalf of local manufacturers from international bodies such as the International Organization for Standardization, ISO, and the Codex Alimentarius Commission, which is the CAC, regional bodies such as the African Organization for Standardization, ASO, and the European Committee for Standardization, CEN, and the national standard body such as the South African Bureau of Standards, SAPS, Kenya Bureau of Standards, CAPS, British Standards Institution, BSI. Lesedi. BOPS charges between 300 pula to 3,000 for services such as certificate of compliance application, application registration, registration certificates, etc. On the other hand, it charges fees ranging from 1,300 pula to 4,500 pula for product certification, which includes documentation review, application fee, audit, and annual marking fees. BOPS implementing 3 key strategic initiatives to assist emerging local manufacturers. 1, standard development and awareness, which entails developing demand-driven standards that are aligned with local manufacturing needs and government priorities. After standards are developed, the Bureau, where possible, partner with relevant stakeholders to conduct targeted awareness workshops to support alignment and implementation. 2, streamline certification pathways. To complement its product certification scheme, BOPS has established a best certification scheme. This simplifies certification process, reduces turnaround time, and paves a faster route for market entry. Additionally, the scheme lowers certification costs, making compliance much more accessible for micro and small enterprises. And lastly, the SME support framework, a specialized micro, small and medium enterprise certification framework aimed at accelerating compliance and lowering certification costs, is under formulation. The framework seeks to cultivate an environment that empowers emerging local manufacturers and MSMEs, enabling them to expand their market reach and scale their business sustainably. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary, Honorable Dr. Botswana.
Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, amewa iti ka seemo se ba go iba Botswana mo ngwe ba kopiwang gore ba dirise di standards tsa South Africa. Mme ga ile gore go ntse jalo. A mme go taba go ba eme sente mo competitioneng. Gore gongwe re ba compete le di company tsa South Africa tse ba dirang di products tse ba di dirang. E be le gore go batega di standards tsa South Africa. Sa bobedi tsone di standard tse di buang tsa di international bo ISO bo Codex Alimentarius a mme tsamaiso ya teng sentente e ka nna bonolo go tsamaya jang hela gore ga o le mogwebi o le monana o dira se o se dira mo Botswana e be le gore o ka go dirisa di standard tsone tse di international a go bonolo tota sente gore di ka dirisiwa. Mme gone a ga re lemoge le lehatse gore kana nna re thalegane re itse gore ga go te mo Japan ne go toa product e le gore e boleng jo bo rileng ile ko morago ga tsena di fonko e le gore le tsone ma China e le gore kante ba emelela a mme ga re lemoge le lehatse gore re tshwanetse gore ne di standard tse le gore di ka supporta ba khwebi ba ile gore ba basha le dilo tse le gore batla go di dira mo Botswana tse le gore re ka supply di products mo Botswana for import substitution. A mme ga le lemoge gore go botlhokwa thata re dire jalo hela jaaka ma Japan ne ba dira ba tola ba ntse go tse ba dira dilo tse di cheapi ga to ga tsena ma China a to ga ba nna ra ba bulela gore he ba taka di Fonkong mme kante ke gone jaaka ba emella e le gore ba dirisa di standard tse le gore ke tsa maatsa se ke a leboga Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Ya me ke a leboga ke leboge ngaka go botswang ka potso ya tlaleletso. O tshwanetse gore gongwe re lemoga gore BOPS e ithela makgotla a mangwe a ntse a le teng mme ebile ga ga ya ema e tswelela ntse e gola e godisa le yone list ya di standards tse ileng gore ba na le tsone mme gongwe ga ngaka go motswang a sa nkutlwang sentle teng ke ga ine kere ga re senang tsone teng kana ga re iseng re dire tsa rona teng re le ba bangwe ba ileng gore ba ntse ba le teng ba ileng gore re na le tirisano mmogo le bone ba ileng gore ke bone ba ne ke ba nankola ka maina e le gone gore re tsa malebela mo go ba ileng gore ba ntse ba eteletse pele bogolo thata mo di-industry tse dingwe tse ileng gore mo lehatsheng la Botswana ke gone di thuthugang mme ra be re leba go ba ileng gore ba setse ba ntse ba ne ba epetse mosele ko pele gore le rona re dire jalo yaanong ke re go ngaka re tswelela re godisa di-standards tsa rona tsatsi le tsatsi ga re senang teng re a godisa ga re senang capacity teng re le ba mo go bangwe ba ileng gore ba na le capacity ba ileng gore na le tirisano mmogo le bone ya ntlha o ne o boditse gore keng dikomponi di batla di-standards tsa South Africa di-standards tsa ha di seong teng ha re senang tsa rona teng ba bangwe ba kgona go lopa tsone tsa lehatshe mme ba sa re gore o tswele konte ba rahela gore dithoto tse di tang go bone di tshwanetse gore be ile gore ke tse di thathubilweng di na le boleng kana boleng ba tsone bo ka sekasekwa ba salwa morago e le gore ebile bo certifiedwe ke bone ba ileng gore ke ba itsanape mo fielding yone ntseng jalo mme mo Botswana Bobs e keteletse ko pele gore o pehela yo nang le dithoto tsa tlhokang gore di hiwe boleng kana di thathubiwe o tsena ka bona ga re senang capacity teng ke rona re leng Bobs re di isang konte go diragala ka tsela ntseng jalo mme tse dingwe di tata e le gore di tadile mo di-standardeng tsone tse e leng gore ke kone re isitse go testa di-products tseo teng ke a leboga Mr. Speaker.
Further supplementary.
Nna kwa lona dipotso e tšhaile batotegi I've been conferring with Honorable Furniture and Honorable Assistant Minister in the State President about question number 9. Now, question number 9, it's careful reading. I'm of the opinion that some aspects of it will contravene Order 38.1, in particular G. As I've said, I have conferred with this is more order paper. I understand that it came and it was later dated. I would have advised Honorable Furniture to proceed in accordance with Order 38.2. In particular, A, 38.2A, that the question be modified so as to remove the words or portions thereof which are inconsistent with the relevant standing order. Jano, Honorable Minister, be properly guided that your answer should conform to Order 38.1G. So I want to hear you on record, or you will be able to conform with that standing order. Honorable members, you would appreciate that a question more or less like that, or questions have been asked before, and how they were answered. The major difference is the details, which may border on offending 38.1G. So, so as I say, my invocation will be that my order will, that it be answered, even though it has not been dealt with in accordance with 38.2A. Minister, and conforming with the applicable standing orders.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, given what you just mentioned, Honano, right now I cannot ascertain hore karabo e ke tshotseng e tla conform le Order 38.1G o muang Gore nka tla ke a ke tla kgona go e araba ka moso. Ke dumela gore I can answer it tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. If you allow me to go back to my team, re baakanye to ensure that re comply le order ye we buileng gona anong. I think you said 38.1, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Speaker. But I believe by tomorrow we should have been able to make a few amendments and come back and answer the question. I thank you.
On a point.
Order. Yes, I'll come to you. I'll
Order,
come to you,
Mr.
Government
Speaker.
Whip and Leader of Opposition. I'll come to you. I'll come to you. But just to say, honourable members, as I've indicated, you have the right to know how the taxes are used, and make judgment on the prudence or otherwise. Me, when I looked at this question, because my concern was that it may offend order 38.1G, and so be properly guided. Check how similar questions were answered before. I believe I talked to both of you and Honorable Furniture. Let me hear Government Whip before I go to the Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm wondering why question 8 has been skipped. Question number 8.
Sorry. Na kwa dipotso e hedile. Ne ke gakolola hela ka gore tse di setseng di tla tsena ka moso as time constrained questions. Jaanong ne ke guide mo go ya bo hera bongwe. Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Mr. Oja. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think go no go le botlhokwa gore re utlwane gore bothata bo ha kae ka gore potso ka ke lebeletseng ka teng e botsa ka mesepele ya ga tautona ditshenyegelo tsa yone tse di tebagantseng le go tlhokomela tautona le ba ba mo patileng go ne go ka re thusa gore re itse gore which part of the question offends 38.1G. Ke gona se se ka nnang sephiri ka gore bo tautona ba tsileng pele ga tautona gompieno go boditswe ka bone ka mesepele ya bone ra neelwa dipalo tsotlhe gongwe ne ga ne re ka itse gore ke phate e ya potso e leng mathata ke a leboga.
Yes, Honorable, no, he's within his right to ask. Yeah, it's within his right to ask. What I was particularly worried about is that the travel area president, you'd know that it's an operation here, Botswana Defense Force, acting with the Directorate of Intelligence and Security. So the cost related to specific items, your accommodation, subsistence allowance, cost of accompanying delegation. Yes, so that's what worried me. I imagined for a president at traveler are these details revealed. Where he checks in, how much is paid, who has accompanied him, because the challenge in and so in the past, similar questions have been answered. But what I sought to establish, and seems to have been the trend, is the general cost. That one can be discussed here. Me yadi item tse tsone tse ke di buang tse ke bone go ka re go nna dingano ha go ta mo goreng e itemaisiwe, and that question is answered publicly. However, as I've indicated, Honourable Minister, that's my guidance to you. You still have another leeway Lele Parliament, you have the PAC, and when you are dealing with matters of national security or matters which are secret, you know how you deal with those in committees. Recently, you have also set up a committee on intelligence, which if you need more details, dika buiwa ko, but outside the public glare. So that has been my worry. This is an operation, BDF operation at DIS. Ka gore yanong re twa re iphitlhela re botsa gore o tsamaya le di-bodyguard tse kahe o tsamaya le ba ba tsang dithola ba le kahe o tsamaya le di-aircraft engineers tse kahe o tsamaya le di-pilot tse kahe. So that's what worried me ka dikgang tse. So that has been my worry, Leader of Opposition.
My final point of view. It's fine, Mr. Speaker. Lokai lebelela mi naka haki balankate. Di khanse di go tshosang ga dio mo potso. Go rota ba patilwe ke batho ba security ba le kae. O checkile in ko hoteleng ye ana le mangadio mo teng. And I want to, as you ponder over it, if I recall well, potso ya mohutao ene a botswa ka puso ya ga Remasisi. Parliament ya neelwa di amount tsotlhe. Go tla be go le thona gore gompieno be re ka kganela. Yaanong e lebelele mme re lebelele gore bo tautona ba hitileng go arabiwe go hiwa dipalo tsa madi a dirisitsweng. Ke a leboga.
Procedure.
Yes, hang on, Honorable Minister Tsere. I tried to check. I could not immediately retrieve the Hansard, but I could check what I've noticed, at least with the former president, was the general figure. Internally, this is how much it cost. Externally, this is how much it cost. All these items. But Mekana, you can easily draw an inference. Accommodation, the president has had 20 travels to the following countries. These are the costs of accommodation per country. How a good investigator, it's easy to determine where he was lodged. So I don't want to go into the details, but Minister, be properly guided, but I'll also call on the Hansard from the clerk to see how previous questions have been answered. May please stand guided, honorable ministers.
Procedure.
Procedure.
Honorable Sir.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Na ke a utlwa gore ma-BCP ba re ba batla go utlwa ka metsamao ya ga tautong. Yaanong ba batla go itse gore o tsamaela kae o ya kae. Re sa itse gore information ya teng ba e batala mang. Yaanong se sengwe, Mr. Speaker, na ke tsa gore o e tshwere sente hela sente tota gore ka ha o e buang ka teng ebile o ha bogakolodi gore tsotlhe tse di amang itshireletso ya ga tautona re se ka di bua mo parlamenteng. Yaanong ha o kwala ha gore nya ha gore o loja kae mme potso e botsa hela gore a o tsamaya ka plane ka koloi kana ka eng go tswa e be botsa gore wa accommodate wa kae then gore it's revealing e reveala dio tse dintsi thata tse leng gore ha ke bone gore re tabo re tsamaelana le standing order na tota ne ke suggesta gore ha ile gore ba pallwa ke go e baakanya go thelele hela Mr. Speaker, then you should not accept it in the order paper. Withdraw it from the order paper.
Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
I thank you very much. Please, I
Procedure.
will remove it.
Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, order. Honourable members, I am very clear about this question. In terms of how I have advised myself, but as I say, I'll go and check how previous questions were answered. Yes. Me, all these items, from A to E, my issue is I would want the minister, because the question is in the order paper, I make sure we adhere to order 38.1G. Yeah. So here we clear.
Procedure.
I'll give Honorable Furniture and then lastly Honorable Minister for State President.
Ke a leboga, Mr. Speaker. Ke tsaya ke re, ke dumalana le gongwe ka ga o akanyang ka teng. Mme gape ke dumela gore re clearile di-doubt tse gongwe di ka tswang di le teng ka dipotso tse di botswang. Tse dingwe tse di tang ka Honorable Tshere gotlhelele ga dina boamo. Ga ke na maikaelelo a go batla go itse gore tautona o emelela leng, o emelela ko kae, o robala ko kae, o jaeng. Ga ke na maikaelelo a. Nna I'm in the cost gore kana go ha transparency le madi a setšhaba a makgetho a Batswana a ba a dirisitswe. Batswana ba na le tshwanelo eo ya gore ga ba ntse ba kgetha ba itse gore madi a bone a dirisiwa ka tsela ntseng jang as opposed to local. Ke a leboga.
Nya ikete batuteg. Order. Order, honorable members. Let's lalwa. Potso ke a e bona ka kwa dilong ka teng, which is why I was uncomfortable. Ka re ha bua le ka bo related expenditure. As I've indicated, it has to fit within the four corners of your rules of order and procedure. So, Honorable Minister, Honorable Assistant Minister for State President, Defense and Security. Order. Honorable members.
Ke a leboga, Mr. Speaker. Mme ke tsa gore re utlwane. Potso yone, it must go back gore, or rather dikarabo. Re tshwanetse go di revise, Mr. Speaker, in order to make sure gore 38.1G, I believe you said, we are within the confines of 38.1G. Gare gane go araba potso, mme re batla to ensure that re dira dio ka kgakollo le guidance ya lona mo ntlung, and obviously le all the other stakeholders that are involved mo dikgantsong tse dintseng yana. So Honorable Furniture, go araba re tla araba, but we're just going to have to make a few amendments now that we have been properly guided. Ke a leboga.
Honorable members, let's go to tabling of a paper. I understand that the Minister of Higher Education has a paper to table. Honorable Minister.
Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, unless it has to do with the tabling of. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in terms of Standing Order 33.2A and beg to table the National Technical and Vocational Education and Training Policy, TVET, before this Honorable House. Let the paper be tabled.
Let the paper be tabled. Honorable members, I understand that Major General Mukware, being the Minister of Labor and Home Affairs, wishes to make a statement in accordance with Order 41.2. General Mukware.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon. Mr. Speaker, I wish to make a statement on the commencement of the Employment and Labor Relations Act, which is expected to commence on the 1st of September 2026. The Act is an integral part of the Botswana's domestic and international obligation to reform the country's employment and labor laws. The Act brings the country into conformity with the International Labour Organization Convention 87 on freedom of association and protection of the rights to organize, provide for the fundamental rights of employment and international labor standards, establish national social dialogue structure, and the Employment and Labor Relations Council. The Act also makes provisions for a sound labor relations framework and orderly collective bargaining, and ensures that registration of trade unions and employers' organizations in Botswana are in conformity with the convention as aforesaid. Mr. Speaker, provision is made in the Act for the Social Security insurance at contributory portions to be agreed by the tripartite, then initiated on the regulations to be put into effect. The platform will cushion workers during the time of loss of income due to loss of jobs caused by varied reasons. Mr. Speaker, I would like to highlight to the August House that the Act has 33 parts, which inter alia covers the following. Part 2 of the Act provides for protection against child labor by, amongst other things, prohibiting persons from employing children who are under the age of 15 years, and with restrictions, allows persons to employ children who are 15 years and above. Part 2 also prohibits persons from requiring or permitting children to perform hazardous work, employment underground, and to work at night. Part 3 of the Act, Mr. Speaker, protects the fundamental rights of workers by prohibiting forced labor and as a deterrent measure. This part also imposes penalty on persons who force workers to perform work, i.e., involuntary work. This is in conformity with the provisions of the Constitution, our grandmam basic norms, to which all laws ought to conform. I need to hasten, Mr. Speaker, to add that the Constitution prohibits slavery and forced labor, and as such, the Act is inter vires the provisions of the Constitution of the Republic of Botswana. Part 4 of the Act protects the fundamental rights of workers by providing more measures to promote equality in the workplace and prevent any form of discrimination, violence, and harassment in the workplace, i.e., this is in alignment with ILO Convention 190. Mr. Speaker, Part 5 of the Act protects the fundamental rights of the workers to freedom of association. It also protects workers from discrimination based on the exercise of workers' rights to freedom of association. In this regard, unregistered trade unions have, in accordance with the provisions of the Act, 6 months within which to organize and or regionalize their operations. Part 8 of the Act empowers the Employment and Labor Relations Council to facilitate the establishment of a joint industrial council to negotiate binding minimum terms and conditions applicable to all workers in each sector. Part 9 of the Act establishes the Employment and Labor Relations Council, which will be a representative body for purposes of social dialogue and information sharing in consultations and negotiations. The Council will be an overarching national dialogue structure responsible for, among
Procedure,
others,
Mr. Speaker.
determination
Procedure.
of minimum wage
Go ahead.
and determination of essential services as and when it is required. Mr. Speaker, Part 11 of the Act provides for the mediation and Attribution Commission, which is an independent dispute resolution structure, and its functions. Part 9 of the Act also established the Mediation and Arbitration Board and its committees. The structure is a quasi-judicial body which will be responsible for conducting trade dispute hearings through mediation and arbitration. Part 12 of the Act regulates general matters relating to trade unions, federations of trade unions, and employers' organizations, which includes
Order members. Minister.
This is an important document which is going to change the labor landscape. So you should be listening to me carefully. Okay, which include the requirements for negotiation of trade unions, federations of trade unions, and employers' organizations, amongst other things. Part 12 of the Act also provides for the rights of trade unions, federations of trade unions, and employers' organizations, and provides for the manner in which the property of the trade unions or fundamental or federations of trade unions shall be dealt with. Part 15 of the Act regulates contracts of employment by, amongst other things, providing for the manner in which a contract of employment may be made under the Act, including the types of contracts of employment that an employer may enter into with a worker. The Act provides for alignment of contracts of employment to the nature of workers. We have to be serious on this one. It also prescribes fixed-term contracts, successive contracts of employment longer than 12 months. Part 16 of the Act, Mr. Speaker, provides for the matters relating to the termination of employment, which includes the termination of employment for operational requirements, that is retrenchment. The Act introduces provisions for retrenchment packages, which shall be negotiated by the two parties. Part 20 of the Act regulates the manner in which an employer is to pay wages to a worker. The employer is mandated to pay wages in legal tender, and such employer is prohibited to dictating to the worker how much worker should spend their wages. Part 20 of the Act also prohibits employers from deducting money from workers' wages without the consent of the worker. Part 22 of the Act.
Order. Members.
I'm trying to familiarize you with the Act so that when you leave this house, you go back and explain. During your quota meeting, you go through this particular Act to your constituents. Mr. Speaker, the Act provides for statutory leave, which includes annual leave with pay, family responsibility leave, paid sick leave, entitles workers to 20, entitles workers to 20 working days to any leave cycle of continuous employment if hospitalized. This further act provides for maternity leave, paternity leave, and adoption leave. Either parent shall be entitled to either one of these leaves to allow each parent to bond with the child. The Act also increases maternity benefits from 50% to 70% basic pay and other benefits, right, Lucas? 25 of the Act regulates the employment of persons with disability. The Act empowers the minister to, in consultation with the minister responsible for the rights of the people with disability, make regulations in relation to employment and protection of people with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, I wish to inform the Honorable House and the public at large that the Ministry, in consultation with the social partners, Business Botswana and the trade unions, have agreed to commence the Act on the 1st of September 2026. The regulations are being finalized to facilitate the implementation of the Act. The Ministry has also noted with great concern the rate at which some employers have started to embark on retrenchment, which we view as an excuse by employers to avoid the upcoming changes that comes with this Act. I therefore call upon employers who do not genuinely undertake this exercise to think twice about the future of the workers and do the most desirable thing to benefit them and the workers. In any event, the Act is a culmination of a collective effort between the employer, the worker, and the government in a bid to comply with the International Labour Organization standards. All the parties are representative and constituents of the Botswana as the ILO. The Ministry has commenced public address through the social media and other platforms to cascade the Act and clarify the salient features of the Act. Meetings will be held around the country to address the public and the district leadership through full council meetings. That will be starting this Saturday, this Thursday. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Procedure,
Mr. Speaker. Procedure.
Please familiarize yourself with Order 41.2. A minister may make a statement A on some public matter for which he or she is responsible. To correct facts given under a statement made under paragraph 1 of this order, that's B, the request under Order 38.1, D, to correct an answer to a question under the standing orders. You would recall, honorable members, this statement, the ministers, is about the commencement of the Act. If you recall that Act, I guess I legit clause dili 33. Not parts. Clauses. The clauses that Act, remember, it was a combination of 3 Acts of Parliament. So, how level this statement in opposite the silent features the Act. Jano ba to teg. So it's saying section, yes. Yeah. How many has it? Yes. Yeah, ne ka go lo ke di section, ena di section tse dintsi thata. So ke tsa gore ke sone se na a le ka go di soboka as parts. Jano ba to teg. Ke na ke bona o kare le motusisitse.
On a point of procedure.
Yano ke tata ko proceduring.
Yes.
I'm inclined not to allow questions for elucidation.
On a point of procedure.
Honorable members, 41.3, no debate may arise on the statement, but the Speaker, the Speaker may, in his or her discretion, allow questions, may, meaning that he may not allow. The procedure by Leader of Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, mo boemong jwa official opposition, ke go pa go ikuela mo go lona. Ga lo bona abuse se letelele. Se tona mokgwara se dirileng. Ga isku se iragale mo parlamenteng ya Botswana. O tswa go re balela speech se se tshwanang hela le sa se badileng ka second reading ya bill. We boeletse hela ya ka entse o ka go bata Hansard o re ruta molao o hitisitsweng ke rona di-clause tse tsotlhe tse ra di itse re di hitisitse yaanong ke ne ke ikuela mo go lona bo speakera ka gore le maloba ke ikuetse mo go deputy speaker gore ministera wa di-prison o tsile hata re bolelela ka national security le gore prison e le ka go le kae for food security mo kganyeng ya food security ke a ikuela mo go lona ra itse se se le kang go dirwa mo bekeng ya bohelo ke party e busang se leteleleng gore ditsamaiso tsa
Point of order,
ya
Mr.
busiwe ke a kopa mo boemong jwa official opposition. This was totally not necessary. Me in conclusion, ke dumalana le wena ga gona se se ka akgelwang ga se you are correct ga gona se se ka akgelwang ka gore o re bolelela sengwe le sengwe se re se itseng yaanong a re ikeleng tlhoko tsamaiso ye ga se yone ke la ntlha re go bona o diragala mo parlamenteng ke a leboga.
Point of order, Mr.
I get the bill. I have to rule on that. Honorable Leader of Opposition, me, in terms of our rules of order and procedure under 41.2, this is a matter on commencement of an act of parliament in accordance with 41.2A. So, Moditsa Maiso, at least I stand to be corrected, but Moditsa Maiso, Moditsa Maiso. Honorable Nyatang.
Mr. Speaker, nekere ke emelela ke gakollo. You know, you always caution or we need to make sure that we apply the proper decorum, more parliamentary. And leader of opposition, Are Malawa, Minister di prison. Onalia. I don't think it's very professional. Maybe like let's say, Kakiso Eketsalango Atarogana. I address a center on a minister at the prison. Kizo Justice and Correctional Services. Otherwise, Sekita Bekanal to Melagori, Kunyata, which I will not allow.
Yeah, Selwe.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Selwe, Makute, Minister of International Relations.
Hey.
International Relations.
Mr. Speaker,
order. Honorable members. Honorable Minister Muswane, Namotimile.
Nyana, Mr. Speaker, nane kere tsamaiso ya ntue ene ga ke mosha thata mo ntweng. Ke itse gore ha speaker a ntshitse ruling. Re tshwantse re tote ruling. Mme nna ke tshwengwa ke gore ha o sona o ntsha di ruling go lebe ga o ka re le ha gone go bonala gore ba ka o leng bone ba le ka go supalenyatso hela mo go mongwe le mongwe ha o re o lebella gore speaker a o ntshitse ruling ba batla gore gote Batswana ba tseye gore gatenya rona re ba siami re batla go gakolla mo go siame. Let's disabuse Batswana. Everything done by the opposition in this house, they are partisan, opportunistic, and biased in everything. Yeah, no, for what they are. They cannot set the agenda for the government side of the house, which is what they are trying to do. But what they set the agenda, Minister Atise. Statement as it is
Procedure, Mr. Speaker. Procedure, Mr. Speaker. Procedure, Mr.
Ga gona
Speaker.
procedure, ra tswelela.
Nya,
Ra tswelela. Honorable ke kgonegile, ra tswelela. Ra tswelela. In the order paper, go na le personal explanation by Honorable Minister Noah Salah. Order. General, microphone. Mr. Speaker, ke biditse Honorable Salakai.
Mr. Speaker, ne ke kopile project before lantahale ne ke na le item ene a bo ruta impa e. Okay.
I had boy Makayon. Just remember that. Honorable Salakai, personal statement in accordance with Order 43.
Ya leboga motsamaisa no Mr. Speaker. Ekaka. Mr. Speaker, I stand here to deliver a personal statement as per Standing Order 43.1. Let me begin on a very humble note and give thanks to the good Lord, God the Almighty, God the Omnipotent, God the Omniscient, and God the Omnipresent for the wonderful gift of life, guidance and protection, and for his steadfast love that endures forever. Mr. Speaker, I must admit this is my scariest and hardest moment of my illustrious political career that spans 28 years of constant political activism under the Botswana National Front, from 1998 to date, where I practiced my politics based on nothing but the vision, the principles and values that have guided the BNF as it prosecuted a difficult and painful struggle in the decades before our attainment of power in 2024. For all this time, I was part of the BNF struggle with pride and honor. Among the many things that the teachings of the BNF, the vision, principles, and values have inculcated in me is the spirit that resonates most profoundly with verse 4 of Psalm of David, Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. For thy rod, their staff, they comfort me. Through this verse, Mr. Speaker, King David reminds us that God is always working for our good. He provides guidance and fills us with the patience we need in all our life pursuits. He gives peace and comfort and strengthens our courage when we feel weak and afraid, and restores hope when it is lost. The verse is about faith over fear, presence over panic, and divine guidance over darkness. Mr. Speaker, for the past few months, I've lived under the suffocating weight of state-sponsored corruption allegations, driven by none other than the notorious DCEC senior officer, who reports directly to the Minister of State, President, Defense and Security. When a government body decides to target an individual, the process is swift and isolating. The most painful part is when the allegations are arrived at through calculated leaks, sudden bureaucratic investigations, and a presumption of guilt. The hardest part is realizing that evidence matters less than the narrative the state wants to create. Living under this kind of pain, Mr. Speaker, has taken a massive toll on me. My constant wonder is what next? Friends and associates have distanced themselves, afraid that being near me will make them the state's next target. Against this backdrop, Mr. Speaker, following a summons issued to me by the DCEC on Thursday, 13th August 2026, to appear in court for corruption allegations, it is with a profound sense of duty and deep regret that I stand before you today to announce my immediate resignation from my position as a member of the Cabinet. I want to be entirely clear at the onset, Mr. Speaker, that my resignation does not in any way constitute an admission of guilt or liability regarding the allegations currently under scrutiny. Rather, I've made a deliberate and conscious decision to step down to address a personal legal matter requiring my attendance in court on the 28th August 2026. My sole focus is to fully cooperate with and allow the legal process to run its course. Mr. Speaker, it is critical that state agencies such as the DCEC and DIS should not weaponize corruption laws, because by so doing, they stop protecting citizens and start protecting power. It highlights a dangerous systemic flaw that all God's loving people must stand up to correct, regardless of the consequences. Mr. Speaker, I want to put it on record that I fully cooperated with DCEC investigations from the day they raided my rented residence in the city on the 10th of September 2025. What is most worrisome is the blatant disregard of own rules and protocols by the DCEC. Section 44 of the Corruption and Economic Crime Act prohibits unauthorized disclosure of information relating to ongoing inquiries. But the notorious DCEC senior officer makes frequent trips to Ganzi to make sure that he reports back without fail to a group of partisan friends so that they in turn share fabricated news on social media. When I was raided on the 10th of September 2025, the DCEC came with a crowd of 15 operatives. I was told some are often members of the public, not necessarily from the DCEC. But I can confirm the operatives were about 15 in total. Even when they found me in the company of my wife and our 4 little kids, then aged 13, 8, 5 years and 5 months, they didn't consider cutting their number. My kids keep on asking me who were they and what they were doing and what they were looking for. Worse still, I pleaded with them to allow me to call my lawyer before they could start their research, but to no avail. He will only arrive later when the train had already left the station. The search lasted for about 9 hours in the presence of my 4 innocent kids, in violation of every humane, constitutional, and legal right. As if this was not enough, while the raid was on, the Tuesday Grill online newspaper was busy overflowing the public with a lot of misinformation whose source we are still to establish. But your guess is as good as mine. As part of fabrications to the social media, the public was also told millions of pula were found in my siblings' bank accounts. But later on, when their search yielded no results, no feedback was given back to the public. The list is endless. All along, I will not...
The honourable members.
All along, I will not only cooperate with the DCE's investigation teams, but I was also determined to ensure that the judicial and investigative processes against me proceed impartially and without any perception of interference from my position as member of cabinet. One of the painful stories that were reported on social media relates to the fact that I own a house in Pakalani, that they say is a token of appreciation from some Chinese businessman for awarding him a road project. They deliberately omit to name the site and location of the project that I awarded to the businessman. Neither did they mention that this house is being rented by the state, who are paying rental on behalf of me. I don't pay the rent. The state pays the rent of this house. Because that is the truth that they know. Only God knows who they are trying to deceive. But truth has a quiet resilience. It is a question of time. As alluded above, the list of unsubstantiated allegations brought before the court of public opinion to condemn me is endless. However, I will not discuss all of them because some form part of the charge sheet that was issued to me. I will obviously interact with them in court. This issue, Mr. Speaker, is not just about clearing my name. It is about demanding a system where justice is transparent and the state cannot use its power to crush the innocent citizens. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I wish to reiterate that I harbor no ill will against the DCEC or whoever is behind their evil machinations. Once again, I thank you most profusely, Mr. Speaker, for affording me the opportunity to address Parliament and Botswana at large. I thank you. Be blessed always.
Order, honourable members. You'd know that on the personal explanation is regulated under Order 43. With leave of the Speaker, a member may make a personal explanation, although there is no question before the Assembly as it is right now. And so the order, honourable members, order. I was still reading the order that although there is no question before the Assembly, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. And the terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in full to the Speaker